This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Tuesday, September 7th, 2021, episode 347. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. My name is Nick Craig. You can visit me and follow me on various social media platforms. You can check out my daily radio program. Can you believe that? They pay me to talk at nickcraig.com. Joining me, as he does each and every week, from the great state of Idaho, Brian,
yes,
with an I, Aldridge. Hello, Mr. Brian. How are you?
Hello. I'm doing very well and glad to be back in town. We had a long weekend, I guess, holiday weekend. Hopefully you did something fun.
It was yesterday morning was rough. That's all. We'll leave it at that.
In the pre-show, I was talking a little bit about where we were at. Pretty much the internet, cell phones, and landlines for the whole town died while I was there. Luckily, we were in the mountains and expecting to do things, but I was kind of nervous if I got stuck there and had to work. And then, we're here. So got a normal day of working. I did forget my laptop up there, which kind of sucks. So I should have that tomorrow. But I was able to work.
Are you getting a
Well, I can still work. Like what I'm doing right now, I can still work because it's all web-based. So I was able to still work and do what I needed to do.
Damn.
But I'm going back up there next, this coming weekend. It feels like it's a long ways away. But, it's Tuesday already. So,
it is Tuesday evening.
Thursday, I'll get it back.
It absolutely is.
All right. Anyways, if you want to find me, you can find me at Brian Aldridge on Gab and Parler. Of course, my blog, biteoftech.com. But if you go to our website, infectionpodcast.com, just go to the right-hand side and where it says join a server on Discord, you can connect. It's a free app on your phone or it's a free desktop. They have a web-based version of it. And you can communicate with other people that are fans of the show. You can send messages to us. That's probably the preferential way for you to contact us. We've got a news channel. So if there's maybe a game you think we should be covering, a topic that we should be covering, submit it in that channel and we'll review it before every show. We have a Steam group for when the time change happens and we'll start getting notifications again. Steam won't be down during our hour. We have Twitch, YouTube, BitChute, and DLive for the live show. And also some of those have the recordings after the fact. And then after the fact, you can listen to the podcast version, which at the lower right-hand side, whatever platform you're using, device, there's a lot of different ways for you to go and connect to us. And if you're listening, I really encourage you to jump to the particular episode that you're going to listen to and follow along with the show notes because there's videos, there's articles, we've got sometimes PDFs and images of different graphs. There's a lot of information in there that will really help you if you're following along and can't have a full video stream where you're at. So if you want to support us, at the top, we've got our support button, or you can go to infectionpodcast.com/support, or, there's Prime Gaming, Humble Bundle, Amazon, a lot of different ways you can support us, and was a subscribe star. So, and a lot of people have, and we're looking forward to when we can actually go to a convention and use those funds.
I do want to thank our friend, the Sauce Boss, Big Woody Sauce, the Ross Man, for hitting us up with the 33-month in the morning resubscription here as a little. Actually, it was during the pre-show of the program. So thank you, Ross. Greatly appreciated. Hope you're doing well. So we got one more show here in town. We'll be on next Tuesday, and then a weekend of degeneracy and lost
and
wages.
then a recovery show.
Yeah, well, my recovery show starts at 6 a.m. Monday mornings. That week.
Oh, that's
Monday
true.
After,
so you'll have to kind of wake up a little bit sooner.
Specifically, the reason I decided to take a red eye out Saturday night instead of a Sunday morning flight. So I think I'm actually, because of the time change, I'm actually back home at like 8:30 a.m. Sunday morning because I think my flight's at like midnight or something like that. Like 12.
Oh yeah. Well, then you can kind of get some sleep during the day, get back on your routine.
Yeah.
Where you can wake up fairly early, or get sleep early enough to where that doesn't feel like a crazy early hour.
Exactly. So that's going to be the plan for that. So yeah, very much looking forward to that. PAX did go on this weekend. Didn't
I haven't heard
see
anything about it.
anything
I didn't
about
see
it.
any press. I didn't see a single press release about it or anything. I mean, I think there was an announcement of an indie video game where they played, a trailer for it. That's the only like new thing, I guess, that would be tied to PAX that I saw that was done in that format. So maybe, I mean, but that was an indie title. I didn't see anything else.
So it go back to something I mentioned that they needed to do with this, because it was a very subdued show due to vendors not being there. They have announced that PAX 2021 attendees will have early access to PAX West 2022 badges with a 25% off rate. So they obviously
that's a good indicator of what it was. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, just got my Steam notification. That's exciting.
Yes.
So that is how they went around that. Overall, the what I browsed the PAX Reddit, our PAX this week a couple times. I mean, the people that went seemed to enjoy it, but
I think it's that community of people that just go for PAX. They're not going for the convention for what it's providing. They're going for the people that come, and I think it's that whole group.
Like, this is literally a picture on the Reddit. It's like, oh, remember when stuff used to be in this corner? Like, that's kind of the vibe from PAX West. So it went on without a hitch. They made some big deal about their vaccination rate or some stupid BS like that. But yeah, that's PAX. So there you have it.
All right. Well, how do you want to start this today? Do you want to start with something a little bit political, or do you want to start with some? Okay, let's go ahead and go there.
Yeah,
or do you want to go with gaming?
No. Let's. We normally do. Yeah, let's do. We normally do a first half and then kind of wrap up some of the games before the show ends. So let's start with that.
Okay, so a person who happens to be in games beta tweet about something, I guess, political, about their personal opinion of something.
Wow.
But the problem is they didn't give the opinion that you're allowed to have on Twitter, even though there's no reason for them to legally not have this opinion or ethically not have this opinion. You can argue both sides, and it's not a settled issue. So this should be a freedom of speech issue. But this is John Gibson, and he said, proud of U.S. Supreme Court, hashtag U.S. Supreme Court, affirming the Texas law banning abortion for babies with a heartbeat. As an entertainer, I don't get political often, yet with so many vocal peers on the other side of this issue, I felt it was important to go on the record as a pro-life game developer.
He needs to be canceled. He needs to be fired from his job and removed immediately from everything for having such a dangerous and damning opinion, Brian. How dare he?
Yeah, so that's all he said.
Holy shit.
And I felt like that was I'm
having a bit of a panic.
You need to go to your safe space and
having a bit of an anxiety,
relax a little bit.
A bit of an anxiety attack right now, having such a dangerous opinion.
So now we've got other studios chiming in with their opinions. So Chivalry 2 developer condemns Tripwire over company president's support of abortion ban. So there's one company, and here, guess what? They had a co-development partner end its contracts with the Killing Floor and Maneater creator. So they've got people canceling contracts because of their opinion on one issue.
Good.
Which is a total freedom of speech issue.
Yeah. No, this is okay. Why I say good, I don't mean it's good that they cancel the contract, but it's good because now they can get into a contract with a company that isn't a bunch of flaming leftists and can. It's so funny because the reason we stopped, for example, if you look at our little lower third graphic behind here, you don't see a Twitter icon. It's because we stopped using Twitter because all of the developers that we follow in our space, except for this one guy who, by the way, is a great follow on Twitter. You should give him a follow. He's at Ram Yeager, RAMMYAEGER. He just has the complete opposite opinion from all of the other developers, which, by the way, as I scrolled through my Twitter feed today, Remember the name Jimmy Weisenhunt, Brian? That name ring a bell? H1Z1? Well, he was tweeting about it today. I don't see any backlash on his Twitter account or anything of that nature. So, yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, and so this is something that is just frustrating because, that's personally one reason why I was always very hesitant for us to ever mention anything political on the show for a long time. And we didn't for a very, very, very long time really say anything. And it was kind of an agreement between Nick and I that we didn't really talk about that.
Yeah.
Then there was a point where it became so incredibly obvious like this, that it's bias, that there is no equal treatment out here whatsoever in this industry. And so for me, that just made it kind of clear that, well, what's the difference? What difference does it make at this point, as some people would say. So I just figure, this is going to continue to happen if nobody's going to stand up for him, stand behind him, and show him, you know what, you're not alone in this, because everybody's so scared to say anything.
Yeah,
it's going to continue this way. You know what? There is a silent majority of people, or actually, I'm just going to say majority, but there's a silent equal group of people that have the opposite opinion of this. The percentages kind of go up and down depending on what particular version of this issue you take. But this one is a very particular version of the issue. What's the difference? I mean, why hold back anymore? I mean, I'm not saying like just make all politics, but this guy, he stood up and stood his ground. Let's see what happens to him. He will be an example. He's willing to be a martyr for this. But you know what? He may come out on top, and I hope he does. I hope he comes out stronger, because people realize if you don't have any counter opinions, you'll run amok. It's happened in history. If you don't have anything to slow down what anybody wants, they'll do all kinds of crazy things. So, all right, I think that's it for me. It's frustrating. It's very. I don't want to get to where I get too deep into this. It's a frustrating to see someone who said something that was not even controversial. It was an opinion. You can agree with it or you can disagree with it. That's their opinion, because they have a legitimate cause behind what they're saying as well. You can say it's about the woman. Another person can say it's about the baby. That's their opinion, right? That's the two sides of the issue. Get over it. That's how life works. You can't kill everybody or push everybody out or just, remove everybody that you don't like.
Well, and I'm scrolling through the Twitter replies right now, which are an absolute fucking cesspool. Not to be any surprise with that, of just, again, people, deranged people on, I'll call it exactly what it is. Deranged people on the left that, they're calling him just all kinds of awful, terrible things. I played nearly 1,000 hours between Killing Floor 1 and 2. I am heavily disappointed to know that games coming from this company ran by a misogynist who thinks women are baby ovens. Good to know that you acknowledge you're the vocal minority, though. I'm uninstalling your game. Fuck off. I mean, it's just so
all right,
stupid.
Here, sorry. This is 1 hour ago. He has been fired from Tripwire.
What?
He's been fired from Tripwire. Or actually, wait, I take that. He has stepped down. Which, would you know what that means? That's so that he doesn't have on his resume that he was fired.
Where do you see this?
It's on. I have it on The Verge. I have it on Kotaku. I have it on the site called NME.
Wow. Okay. Well, there you've got it. It has worked again.
So,
good. Yeah.
So there you go. If you are willing to say your opinion in today's culture, this is what you can expect. Why do you think that I stopped messing with the video game industry? There you go. As far as in no way do I want a career anymore in the video game industry, because it would be impossible for me to ever say my opinion again on the internet or anywhere without a risk of being forced to step out of my position, being fired, anything. I don't have crazy opinions. That was not a crazy opinion. He believes that if a baby in the stomach has a heartbeat, that it shouldn't be allowed to be killed. That's his opinion. Now he can't have a job in this industry anymore. What is up with that? You know, to me is disgusting.
I mean, this industry is a hellhole, and it's specifically, as you said, Brian, specifically the reason that we, first of all, kind of stopped going into the whole, for a period of time, we were talking about pivoting and doing more with developers,
getting a lot of guests really going on that. But then we'd be so subject to this. We wanted to be subject to our listeners. Our listeners are the ones that hold us accountable. I didn't want that. We wanted some certain sponsorship or advertiser or whoever to want us to say certain things. Or if we even said this wrong thing, whole studios refuse to talk to us. You know what I'm saying? It's just the industry is so fickle, but until it comes to, and then they come to this where they're willing to, mess with a person's life because they don't enjoy your opinion. I mean, this guy has a family. You're saying that because you don't like his opinion, he has to go without, and he can't provide for his family.
Yeah, because he's, according
to what you're saying,
social media, he's a misogynist piece of shit. Correct. Well,
that if as a person, whether you consider yourself right or left, you don't find this disturbing, you're part of the problem. Honestly. If you don't see what happened here, regardless of whether you agree with him or not, the fact that this happens, what if your side, your opinion was the one that this would happen to you for? And you can say, well, it did in the past, but you know what? It doesn't anymore. And people changed. And now you're going the opposite direction, attacking people just because you want it your way all the time. Correct. When someone compromises and changes and says, you know what, we think you're right on some of these issues, and comes to the middle, that doesn't mean you go for the jugular. You should start learning to work with other people and get a middle ground that's actually reasonable. This is not reasonable, and this is not a middle ground.
Correct.
This is crazy fringe.
But this is the tech industry. This is overly educated, underqualified people working in an industry, and that's what the gaming industry is. And it is nothing but a bunch of sheltered in a bubble people that think the entire country thinks like San Francisco, San Diego, LA, and
Seattle.
Portland, Oregon, and Seattle. Yeah. And fortunately we don't. So I just reached out to him. I want to see if we can snag him for an interview. I would love to speak with him.
Or even on your show. That would be amazing. I mean, I know it's kind of a niche, but should be an eye opener for any industry that this is a problem. In this, I put the link in the show notes also for the update to him being out. But yeah, this is one reason why I never continued with Google. I did enough. I spent enough time employed by Google to where I could have gone and been fast tracked for full-time employment with them. And you want to know why I didn't want to? Because I didn't want to move down to San Diego and be subject to have to walk and talk a certain way and not be allowed to ever voice my opinion. It wasn't worth it to me. I'd rather stay here, and not have that on my job title, and not have that on my resume of going back and, doing whatever for them, because it wasn't worth not being allowed to have my own opinion. That's too valuable for me. And, because this is what the industry, and not just in gaming, it's in tech. And there's plenty, I'm sure there's plenty of other industries that I'm not as familiar with that it is in. But, regardless of your opinion on abortion, you should be allowed to say, I agree with one side or the other. Look at this exact same thing happened when people said they agreed with Trump. People were being forced out of companies for saying that they voted for a president that nearly 50% of the whole population voted for. And you're not allowed to have that opinion. That is just disgusting. And this kind of stuff happens every once in a while, and where's the outrage?
I love the sub headline here from The Verge. John Gibson lost his CEO position in a blistering fast example of actions and consequences. Don't you love how that's written? Actions and again, he said
what was the action? I said my opinion.
I agree with a law. I agree with a law that was reaffirmed by the U.S. Supreme Court.
I agree with the people that they're usually touting, and the whole reason, the whole law and group that they're standing behind for their whole thing that they're discussing anyways. The only reason that they're discussing this topic is because of the exact same group that they're now mad someone is agreeing with.
Correct.
Is that not hypocrisy?
Yeah.
I mean,
No, it is. It's pure hypocrisy, and it just
incredible.
Well, it just goes to show that this. I mean, it really just goes to show how awful and terrible the Silicon Valley industry really is. I mean, it is.
Yep.
When I say it's an absolute cesspool of nothing but leftist nonsense, and some people I'm sure listening are like, "Oh, you guys are a bunch of whatever." Piss off. I mean, this is the reality of it. You can't. Again, all he said is, "I agree with a law that was passed in Texas." That law was then reaffirmed by the highest court in the United States. He said that and lost his job, saying, "I agree with the law." That's all he said. I agree with the law.
And the odd thing is how the type of statement that you would have to say to have the same type of reaction on the other side would be to say, "I enjoy killing puppies," right? Something like that.
No, because
would get you fired.
No, it wouldn't, because
something that triggers the right group that will start an uproar.
Our Twitter account, our Infection Podcast Twitter account, which we don't use often, was full of nothing but developers and people in this industry making threats against people for being Republicans and conservatives, threatening to kill people.
They don't necessarily care as much about people. That's why I said puppies specifically, because it matters more to them. Okay, come with me here. But the thing is you could do that, and that would get them in an uproar. That would get them upset. But you turn that around and say, okay, instead of puppies, I meant babies. Oh, wait a minute here. Flip that script. Let's go the other way. That's hypocrisy. We're not saying women die. Nowhere is it said women die in this bill. It's just saying once they get old enough, we don't think you should have the right to take their life anymore. What's that have to do with his job? That opinion is perfectly harmless. That opinion is kind of wholesome, actually. I mean, I would prefer that even if it were an animal, I wouldn't want to kill it if its heart's beating in the stomach. I wouldn't. It doesn't matter to me what or who it is.
I'll say this. The good news in this situation is hopefully John will, I mean, he's obviously not an idiot. He was the president and one of the founding members of Tripwire. Hopefully he will rebound into this and maybe open up. Brian, you ready for this? Open up a game studio of people that might think alike.
Their politics don't matter, or just a game studio where the politics don't come into account. Right? It doesn't have to be a politics for the other side.
But what ends up happening is you're the founder of a group, and then a couple of other people get in, and then
it gets successful, and they'll out him. Yes.
Exactly, and that's exactly what this is. Obviously, his co-founders and the people around him are feckless and can't handle. And what this really comes down to is social media outrage. The guy only has 8,000 followers on Twitter, Brian. This tweet has 14,000 replies, 18,000 hearts, which is just people seeing it, liking it, and then 9,000 retweets.
What I think is really funny too is
by the way, he was in Seattle for PAX West, like when this happened.
He was there saying hi to people. Yeah. It's just this is going to continue happening, and as I said, at what point are people going to stand up and say, you know what? That's not right. And that's what disturbs me is where's the honor in either side? Even someone who doesn't agree with his politics to stand up and say, you know what? I agree that people should be able to say their opinion because I don't want to be someone who has my opinion suppressed.
Yeah,
that should be enough for a person to wake up.
But you're also not retarded. So that's how you can come to that. Well, you're missing a key. You're missing a key point in this argument. You're a rational human being.
I mean, I'm a libertarian. I don't subscribe to all the things conservatives, Republicans, liberals, Democrats. I don't subscribe to any of their line item things. I have looked at each issue and made my own decision and decided I think people should be able to make their own decisions for themselves for the most part, unless it affects someone else. Once that baby has a heartbeat, it affects someone else. That fits into my category. If the baby did not have a heartbeat, it would not be its own, right? That still fits in this. That it's libertarians. I mean, we're looking at people and just saying, what in the world is wrong with half of this population? Because you got people like this who used to say, remember there was books, Fahrenheit, what was that one from 421, where it was about book burning back in, back when that was a hot topic of suppression and socialism and all that. And you look at that and you had all these liberals standing up and like that was pushing for them, you don't suppress people, you don't silence them. And now it's turned around and now they're silencing people.
Correct.
Where before they said, stand in the street, be heard. Well, now it's like, shut up and sit down. That it's just such a turn from what they claim to be.
Well, I would recommend.
Now here we are.
I would recommend that if people listening to this have similar opinions to you and I, that you go over to John Gibson's Twitter, which I'll throw a link in the show notes for. Give him a follow and send him a tweet, as I did, and let him know that, contrary to what progressive, it's so. We got a lot of news to get into. Well, I'll hold off on this, but there's
we can do whatever. Don't worry. I put them in order of.
I just want to mention because there was a post on the PAX Reddit last week. I didn't that I saw, and the post was, I can't go. I can't push myself to go to PAX South because of their completely bigoted law that they just passed. And it was all these people in these comments saying how they couldn't go to Texas now and all this. And I think I responded with something to the effect of nobody just don't fucking go. Like something simple as that. But it was this whole diet. The guy practically wrote War and Peace on a Reddit post about how he was so virtuous and all this other bullshit. It's just so stupid.
I know. And it doesn't feel like it's slowing down.
No, it's only getting worse. But here's the best part about it.
Getting worse and worse every year.
And I'll end on this. It eventually stops, and the reason it stops is because you're never woke enough, and eventually you're just not far enough into their viewpoint that even people on their own side get ousted. So I'm all for this. Let this industry because what this comes down to,
continue to kill itself is what it's
it will continue itself. And the games are becoming. We talked a lot about the potential for the next Saints Row to be. The last episode title was SJW Row. This industry will eventually eat itself alive, just like big tech has. Yep. And then once it burns to the ground, let the ashes smolder for a little while, and then it will be rebuilt into something that is actually realistic for what it is, which is an industry of people that want to play video games and really don't care about politics.
Well, and it's kind of like frustrating coming from an industry that was built, with some of the silliness of the 80s of Duke Nukem and
Postal,
Leisure Suit Larry, Postal, and then it's turned into this, where people, the reason that you play video games is to escape reality and do something you normally wouldn't do. And with Leisure Suit Larry, whether it's flirt with a hot girl because you're a nerd, right? Or I did Postal. I'm assuming your goal is not to go mow everything down, but I prefer you do it virtually than doing the real thing. It's like and they've proven study after study that violence does not lead to real world violence in video games. So it's like, at what point are they just going to back off a little bit? Let people put out video games that they find entertaining, like what Saints Row used to be. And we'll see when the game actually comes out how neutered it really is. But people want that kind of fun game, and you want to know what? They're going to make their games so unenjoyable, because look at what makes things like GTA enjoyable. The games that don't bend to their rules and don't bend to their little whims here are the ones that are going to come out so successful because they're going to be like GTA that doesn't follow anybody's rules, at least so far, and puts these things out over and over and just in your face, but they're so big. But what are you going to do to stop them? What are you going to do? They're one of the most successful games in the world.
Yeah.
It's going to take people like that. And I think that they're going to make their industry so gutless that those few that are there are going to be continuing to be huge. They're going to take the industry, and then there's going to all these small studios are going to try to replicate that and make edgy stuff because it's going to be the new thing. I think that's how it's going to have to unfold, but the industry's got to eat itself first for that to happen. Go right ahead, boys. You're doing it. You're right on track. You guys are making it right for the wall. Go ahead.
Yep.
I'm ready because I want to play some of those other fun games. Now that I want to see, crude games, but I want ones that actually have humor, that are entertaining, that don't sit there and try to check off every single box or try to do something that, sends a certain message. I just want to have fun. And that's what's going to take to get back to that, because they get incredibly frustrated when it's not what they want.
I often use the phrase on my radio program, which, by the way, I would encourage everybody to listen to. You can download the Wilmington's Morning News podcast. See what I did there? I often use the phrase, it's like a rubber band, Brian. Right? You can stretch a rubber band, but you stretch it too far, and it not only breaks, but it shoots back in the other direction. And I have attributed a lot of what we're seeing to this right now, this rubber band on wokeness in all of these various industries, movies, television, video games, whatever. You pull it so far that when it breaks, it's not like a chain where it just breaks and falls to the ground. It breaks and then shoots back with an incredible amount of force in the other direction. We've all seen a rubber band or a hair tie or something snap. That's what happens.
Yep.
And I am convinced that is what's going to happen with some of this stuff. In my heart of hearts, I do truly believe that that's the case, because this nonsense can only go on for so long.
Yep. And as it's going to hit that, I keep telling everybody, politics is a pendulum. It sits there and it swings. And, people think that it's only going to go so far. The problem is when the pendulum swings and somehow hits a point where it can't return, that's when you get dictators and things like that. If we want to keep America going, you have to be willing to let the pendulum swing the other way, or else you go into a dictatorship. And people are so asleep to what if the pendulum's on the other side, and then that's the dictatorship. You need to keep the back and forth, because when one side feels threatened that you're not going to give it back, that's when they'll hold it. So you got to knock it off. Anyway, sorry, that has nothing to do with this.
Vote in the California recall election. There you go. That's your first step forward. So, all right, well, there you go. So having an opinion about a law that was reaffirmed by the Supreme Court makes you a misogynist piece of shit, and you deserve to lose your job because of it. So that's
congratulations.
That's what I've learned from this whole situation. So, Brian, thank you for putting that in the show notes, and again to the audience. Yeah. Go and give this guy a follow on Twitter.
Give him some support. I feel sorry for him. I mean, this is devastating. When I'd be that same person if I were in his same shoes, and I would say that very close to a similar opinion, and probably a very similar manner, because it was not offensive, it was not aggressive, it looked like it was well thought out, and it was an honest opinion.
Yeah. And
that's what I would try to give if I was writing a statement on that. And I would say the exact same thing. I don't speak out very much on political issues on Twitter and things like that, unless my local news I would do. But, I'm saying, like on Facebook, I don't talk about political issues. I still have an account there because it's just not worth the harassment that you get back. And this is the example of that. It's not worth losing friends that when we see each other, we don't talk politics, because they can't get over the fact that someone else has an opinion.
Well, you're a braver man than I, because I go completely scorched earth with it. So
yeah, I just don't even use it anymore. I use it just to see when people's birthdays are. Yeah. So that's it. All right. Hey, let's move on for a little bit. Still out of politics, but in politics. Amazon is trying to delay to Starlink because it says it can't compete. That's according to SpaceX. SpaceX saying that Amazon keeps trying to delay Starlink, which is their satellite internet, which is showing to be very successful. Incredible performance, a good value. We have a number of our listeners and viewers that use it, because where they're at it was so far away that they could not get internet, or they couldn't even stream our show correctly, and have it really work consistently. They got Starlink, and now they have good, fast internet for a flat fee. So Amazon has been urging the Federal Communications Commission to deny SpaceX the approval needed to launch its second generation Starlink satellites, which is incredible, because this is think of it in outside of the logical and sensical version of what they're saying. This is offering internet to people in Africa that barely have power. It gives them access to the outside world. People in third world countries, it gives them equal access to the internet. China, they have some control over their airspace, but there's a possibility that they would give access to people to the internet in China. Like all these things, the human rights things that they're now saying, stop that. Look at what it's providing. It's providing equal internet access around the world, which I thought they preached. They wanted internet to be a right. This is the closest thing you're going to get to someone that might make internet a right by providing for some reason, free internet to everyone in the world. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if somehow in the end, this ends up being free internet to everyone in the world for, or something close to it. That's incredible. This gives people that are being controlled in maybe a very strict country, where they control them through the internet, perfect equal internet access to everyone else in the world because they can connect to a satellite that's not controlled by their home country. You're talking about freedom. You're talking about people, but it's odd that they've gone back on that.
So I agree with what you're saying wholeheartedly. And Melmo in the chat put it perfectly. Bezos is just butthurt. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because he lost that NASA deal, and now he's trying to manipulate and sabotage the competitors. And what do they? Nothing happens for it.
But what you're saying, I almost agree with, because you're saying open and free internet. Well, yes, I agree with you.
I'm not saying I want that. I'm just saying they preach that they want that. You know what I'm saying?
But I'm saying,
you're talking about equal access.
Well, I'm saying SpaceX. Let's say they do control, for all intents and purposes, the entire internet. Well, what happens when
the worldwide access to it?
Well, what happens when Elon Musk or whoever's in charge of Starlink, whatever? I'm not saying this is going to happen. What happens when they get a little too woke?
Well, okay, so there's no protecting against it. All you can do is try to build in as many protections to keep it free and open as possible, just like they've done with the internet. I mean, for what it is, I'm surprised that for half of my life and more, the internet has stayed as open as it has.
Yeah, like I'm talking like newsmax.com.
Yeah, the fact that you can still do that with all this stuff that they've tried to do, that for me is amazing. So I have some confidence that there is a possibility that this could stay open, because you're dealing with so many governments and so many people that you have to just go with the most safe option, which is leave it open. Because, this could turn into a huge mess. You start giving China filtering options on China satellites and all this. This should give open equal access, which I thought that they were preaching they wanted years ago.
Yes,
this is providing it. And now you have Bezos trying to stop it from happening. And I get no outrage from people that would normally be outraged about someone doing something like this, restricting people's access to ... and they get mad. They're not getting mad.
Correct.
It's odd. Why not? Because hypocrites. Again, hypocrites.
Yes.
I read the news. This is why I don't think we're never getting anywhere in the rest of the news, really, past a couple, because these first ones, it's just hypocrisy after hypocrisy over and over. And it's so frustrating to read. Why aren't you getting mad that Amazon is trying to stop people from being able to access the internet? There's places. I was in a place this weekend. The whole town didn't have a single signal coming in and out of it for dial tone of a landline, because somebody cut the line, the one line that goes into town. This would allow that town to not be stranglehold by that one provider, to have open access to the internet, right? And not be dependent on, because they live somewhere far away. That's the perfect example, and he's preventing that. There you go. Why aren't people mad? It's just stupid things like this where you look at it and it's like, if someone with the opposite political view would have said it, there would be outrage and they'd be coming up with some sort of reason to be pissed. Yet they don't, because it doesn't align with, he's on my side. Okay, it's okay. Go ahead. You're fine. He's with me. That's disgusting. The fact that you do that. There's people on my side when they do something. Yeah, there's people on my side that do things that are disgusting. You know what? If it's shown that they did something that was wrong, I say, dude, that guy was wrong. I don't sit there and keep pushing up, say, no, it can't, you guys are lying.
Yeah, but
if you can prove that he did something wrong, There you go. I
Brian,
know
Brian.
none the people I support, they haven't been proven on anything.
Brian.
Yeah.
Relax. Let me tell you. This all comes down to something very simple. You're not retarded.
Okay.
So you can
I know.
again, I'm going to keep going back to this. You can make a decision by yourself because you're not stupid.
Yes.
And that's what this all comes down to. And by the way,
Yes.
as exhausting as all of this is the shit I have to do for 3 hours a day.
I know.
So,
Reading each of these topics and getting pissed. I just can't even imagine.
If you're understanding why I'm not, people are probably listening like, wow, why is Nick not so freaking out about this? Because of this, this is what I do every day.
This is reality now.
I mean, and hopefully this doesn't. Fortunately, we don't get into these conversations very often. But when I say this part, I'm not saying anything bad towards you. I just don't care because that part of that's already left my that was this morning's Nick, and I'm a new man this evening.
Fresh new Nick.
Yeah, after my nap is like a hard resetting a computer. You hold down the power button for 3 to 5 seconds.
You shed your old skin and you're fresh.
Yeah, I'm I'm the reptilians that Alex Jones has been warning us about. Yeah, I am the reptilian.
Nick, you are the reptilian.
Yeah. You are the reptilian.
I just wanted to point that out because it just to me, if you looked at it, because when these people write these titles, I try to read the article and see it for what it is, not for what the article says it is. Because everybody, all they have to do is write an article that pushes it one way or another, and you can sway so much public opinion. Read the title, okay, write that off, then read the article and see what it says. And it tells me that he is being anti-competitive and trying to stop this guy just because he wants more money. He's mad that he lost the deal, and he's willing to screw anybody to do it. Mm-hmm. Even the people who around the world that might have internet for the first time in their little village. Thank you, Amazon. Your name is so fitting because those people don't deserve internet. Whatever. Let's go.
Well, hey, as long as you can get your cheap Chinese crap delivered in 2 days, I guess we're good to go.
All right, and let's talk about China for a minute.
Sure. And you mean the United States?
Getting there. I found there was an article by Wired that went through and kind of goes through some of the things.
Every once in a while, Wired's got some good stuff. Yeah.
And this wasn't crazy. It was just a very kind of straightforward talk about what this rule really means. How easy it is for a lot of people to circumvent some of these things. What's really happening. Some things that aren't easy to circumvent. So I just thought I didn't really want to go into it heavily, but I thought it would just be something that's interesting for people to read because it explains a lot of the topic. You could try to read whatever opinion that they might be putting into the article, for one way or the other. But I think that this breaks it apart pretty well, just to give you a little bit of idea. Because when you read some of the other articles, it's just hard to even come out of it understanding what they're talking about because they're speaking out of both, two sides of their mouth. Yeah. They're contradicting themselves half the time. And it's like, well, I have no idea what you're saying. The title says this. I read the article, it actually means the opposite. What's going on here? And so this one, not bad. And we'll have it in the show notes. I encourage you to take a gander at it and see if it helps make it more clear.
And you can find that link on our website under infectionpodcast.com. Click on the show notes for episode 347, and you'll see that article listed in there. PUBG, Brian.
Yes.
There's been a bit of this was, I've got no semblance of time anymore. 6-8 months, maybe a year ago.
Probably a year ago. Probably a year ago.
Brandon Green, who is the original PlayerUnknown, he built the Yep. It was an Arma 2 mod. Then it became H1Z1
an Arma 3 mod. They had an Arma 3 one.
Then it became H1Z1 King of the Kill. Then it became PUBG that became owned and operated by Bluehole.
PlayerUnknown, and then all these other things. Yeah, now it's just PUBG Battlegrounds. Is that what it is? PUBG Grounds? Who knows?
I don't know what it's called now, but he actually left and created his own studio called PlayerUnknown Productions, correct?
Yeah. Yes. And so they're coming out with, they put out this kind of a player test or a world test, which showed some of the environment, some things moving around. There was kind of a teaser. Didn't really show anything about the game.
Prologue was the name.
But but yeah, Prologue. So here he has a video that he put on Twitter. Let's play that really quick, and he's announcing kind of what's coming up. Because he left PUBG and now has this new studio.
All right, come on, talk, please.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
If you don't recognize me, I'm PlayerUnknown. And if that still doesn't ring any bells, I'm the guy that created the Battle Royale game mode about 6 years ago now as a mod for Arma. And then a few years later, I went on to help make a game called PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, or PUBG. Earlier this week, I announced my departure from PUBG Studios. And today, I want to speak about what's next for me and my team. But before I start, I just want to take a minute and thank all the players and developers that have elevated a simple game mode into a genre of amazing games. Your imagination and innovation are inspiring to me. Thank you all. If you weren't aware, I started out making games as a modder. And actually, that's where I fell back in love with gaming, getting lost in the open fields of Chernarus. Since then, I've held this deep fascination with sandbox-style open-world games and the freedoms that they give their players. But I always just wish they were a bit bigger. So that's our mission as a studio. We want to create realistic sandbox worlds on a scale that's seldom attempted. Worlds hundreds of kilometers across with thousands of players interacting, exploring, and creating. I'm humbly following in the footsteps of so many other great open world developers like Marcus, Gary, Sean, and so many others. And like them, my dream is not to create a game, but rather a world. Now, there are many problems with creating worlds at the scale that I envision, but one of the more significant is that we simply don't have a way to fill these massive spaces with content, assets, game mechanics, locations, and similar things in a reasonable amount of time. Realistic open worlds take a great deal of time and effort to produce. And so this was the first issue that we chose to tackle. The key to making things bigger than humans can create on their own has always been to get machines to pitch in and help. And that's exactly what we've done here. Our machine is a neural network, and our network gives us a way to learn and then generate massive, realistic open worlds at runtime. Or to put it another way, each and every time that you press play. It's this breakthrough that we hope will start pushing video game worlds to the sorts of scale that would lend weight to the idea of, you see that mountain? You can climb it. And coming across a beautiful corner tucked away in a vast wilderness, I think that has real meaning when thousands of players haven't passed that way in the last hour. This is what me and my team have been working on. We're developing this technology required to enable massive scale within open world games. It's been a fascinating project to date, and soon we'll be ready to show off some of what we've achieved. Which brings me to Prologue. As I said, first we need to build out the technology required to generate these vast worlds, the ground on which we'll play, so to speak. Prologue is intended to serve as a simple introduction to an early iteration of our technology and a chance to look at what we've accomplished by leveraging machine learning. In Prologue, you'll need to find your way across a runtime-generated wilderness and use found tools and gathered resources to survive on a journey where harsh weather is your constant foe. There will be no guidance, no path for you to follow, just a world, a spot on the map to reach, and the tools needed to get there. We've also decided to release Prologue as a tech demo rather than a complete game, a way for you to experience an early iteration of our terrain generation tool. Our aim with Prologue is to open the door to our studio and to show you what we're working on. And because Prologue is a tech demo, we're going to let you pay what you want for it. If you like what you see, enjoy the experience, and want to support the team, that'll be entirely up to you.
I think in the end they get more for that.
This is just the start, though.
Big fan
Small
of that.
glimpse at the technology that will eventually power a much more extensive experience. Prologue is our first step on a multi-year journey towards creating what we hope will be rich and interactive open worlds. Look, I know I've been a little light on details, so to give you more insight into our plans, we've done an in-depth interview with Dean Takahashi, which will be released tomorrow over in VentureBeat. Finally, if after reading that and you think what we're working on sounds interesting, please do drop by our website and check out our career page. So that's all from me today. If you're still here, thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you all again soon. Until next time, bye for now.
All right. So there you got it. More of a prologue is going to be more of a tech demo than a game. Kind of building off procedural generation, I think is kind of what he was describing without saying the word. He didn't say procedural generation, but that's...
And it looks like a big
described.
world. Kind of what I gathered from that too is it's a big world. Now, did it sound like in the beginning he was saying people are going to be able to mod the game to manipulate, or is it people are just going to be building all of the environments, like all of the towns and everything?
Going off their website, it says a sandbox world, and when I think sandbox world, I think Gary's mod, and he even mentioned Gary. I think Minecraft. He mentioned Marcus Notch. Both of those games have really only been able to succeed as long as they have been because of
the modding.
Yeah.
So and I feel like I've been saying this for a long time. Have I not? I mean, I feel like I've said this multiple times over the years. The one thing this industry really needs is a big world where you can make mods and just do whatever you want to make something cool so we can discover the next game modes like battle royales and all these things that we've gotten, survival games like Minecraft, that where modding has, created game modes that then people have discovered. That's so much fun. I'd like to see that as an individual game. That's the next step in this. This is what we need in the industry, because it's so hard as technology gets more and more advanced for a small group of people, really, or an individual like him, to make anything anymore.
But see,
you're having to make it in such old technology, or you're having to learn how to do a ton of very advanced things to make it, where the modding like this makes it easier.
Let me disagree with you. I don't think it's just small studios that have this problem, Brian. I think the likes of Activision, Ubisoft, they all have this same problem. They've got hundreds, if not thousands of employees. And sometimes we see some random guy make a mod that gets brought into a game. It's just how you can't, it doesn't matter how many people you employ. Sometimes a really good idea is just not seen by the people that work there. So some random guy's go ahead.
Let's mention that really quick. Bethesda. They just hired the guy who made that Fallout London mod. He is he made Fallout London, and now he's working at Bethesda. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I want to see these people having a place to showcase talent, because I think we're losing that. ARM is becoming unusable, and it's becoming archaic. And they're not releasing. Exactly. It's super old, and nobody's replacing that. ARM is not putting out this new one they promised, and I have a feeling that if they do, it's going to be still way behind. I want to see somebody do it with big scale on the mind. This sounds like big scale. Make it so that when people come to like this area of a map, like it loads into my world that I control, where my mods load, like something like that, where you have a giant world and people can fly around, and like they can fly into your world where it's totally modded how you want it. Whatever it is. I mean, I don't know where he's going, but whatever he's doing, there's so little outlets at the moment. And that's why I was kind of hoping that one game, what was it called? Islands. I was hoping that would at least grow enough to become a little bit more complex, to where you could have something that was cool, but that they had to dumb down so much, and it doesn't really do anything. I've been searching for a platform, is what I call it, like this, where you can make a game and test prototype game modes, because those are hard to do. It's hard to build a whole game just so you can figure out if a game mode works, because sometimes you don't know it works until you've tried it, you've played it, you've gone through and seen, what level after level, is this something that's enjoyable to continue playing, or is this something that gets frustrating after 5 rounds, or does it make you dizzy? All those things. You don't want to have to build a whole game to do that. We need places that light a mod. And, it's hard to do that really on GTA, and really do something that's flexible. Make something that's made for it. I've been asking for it for years now. I hope I kind of heard that out of him, and I'm hoping that's what it is. But make something that allows us to make games without having to do all the movement system, doing all the weather system. Make something that allows us to really mod it, because look at the cool things people do in Rust. Look at the cool things people do and name the game that allows heavy modding. Some of those things are awesome, and
Skyrim,
it's like legitimate
Fallout.
professional Skyrim. Yeah, some of that stuff is incredibly awesome. But you know what? There are limitations to Skyrim. What they can do. That engine is so old, and yet what people do, I see where people say I put 1,000 mods on it and look at what it looks like, and they're walking around. You know, it kind of looks like a modern game at that point. But the thing is so old. It's give people, if people had a new platform, start putting that on something that has the ability to do race tracing and all these other things. Then you'll see really cool things. This is what I've been, and that's why I've been asking for it. I want to see it because for the game industry to continue moving forward with new ideas, it can't always come from the industry veterans. They're sometimes so stuck in an idea.
You can say what you want about PUBG or about Brandon, the issues with the game or whatnot, but
Yeah.
I don't think one thing you can't say is that this guy has, I mean, he literally built an entire genre of gaming.
Yeah.
For the better
Battle
or worse.
Royale.
I don't care what your opinion is.
Based on a film that he enjoyed from, because he came from Asia,
yeah.
as far as from being over there. And there's a movie called Battle Royale that he enjoyed, and he made a game that pretty mimics the concept of it. It became incredibly successful. It takes people like that watching some weird movie from some other country, be like, oh, that's a cool idea. Let's make it.
And I don't want to necessarily use the word visionary because I think that's an overused term, but I'm confident that based on Brandon's prior successes and his forward-looking nature in this industry, that presumably he made a boatload of money off PUBG.
Now, can I say something on the other side of the issue? Because there are people possibly listening that have a very different opinion. And
sure,
I just want to mention that
there's
a lot of people that are very frustrated with him because of from what I understand, because I sat and talked to some people that are really deep in the modding, ARMA modding community that have firsthand experience and have very well known mods like his. And they have said that he paid people to do a lot of that work, and then he never gave them the money afterwards. And there's a lot of people in that ARMA modding community that are very mad with him because that supposedly happened. And I that's just what was told to me from people that are, one person away from it. People that are so close to that industry, they know that person. And that's what I was told, so I can't say that it's 100% because the person who it happened to, didn't say it to me. But, this industry, it's just, that is one side of it. It's not when people say, hey, he did all this by himself, he's such a visionary. There's a lot of conflict around that. I mean, sure, you can go to some forum somewhere and read about it if you want. But, he came out on top, though. And that's the thing. I do give him much respect because getting it from a mod, sometimes there's a lot of people that just, they're part of it and you just can't have them be a part of it going forward because they're hobbyists, right? And you're moving to the next step. There could be other people that are pissed about that, but that is a weird little kind of a conflict with him. And I don't want to stir up anything or make anybody mad. And, I'm just there's two opinions on him. That's the other opinion. So you can say, he did this all himself. But, for this is kind of a nod to that nodding community. If they get in return something that they've been asking for so many years, because there's so many people so sick of ARMA that just want something to replace it, be pissed at him all you want, but he took that money, and if he turned around and made something that you're going to use and love into the future, let it go. Water under the bridge to that whole community, because I'm talking to a very niche set of people right now, and we'll move on really quick. But honestly, let it go, because if this really works and it becomes something that makes modding platforms and places for people to really build their own things as popular, and that becomes the new game mode where people are just playing other people's game modes, kind of like what Fortnite's been doing with creative mode, just create something like that for adults. That would be awesome. I think it would be a whole new industry. And if he does that, that's proving he's a visionary, and then people can let it go. Because if he pulls this off, that's visionary thought. And that proves that, he did have something behind it. It wasn't other people carrying him across that.
Yeah.
So,
well, his website is PlayerUnknown Productions with an S.net, and you can check that out. Well, Brian, it's been an hour.
There's one more thing
Sure.
one thing I want you to see.
Yeah.
No Man's Sky
has
it's only taken 5 years, but No Man's Sky has finally gotten positive Steam reviews. Are you willing to now play it?
No.
Positive. Oh, it's so good. It's not
Well, that's
bad.
fine. First of all, I don't play
I mean,
video
it's not like
games.
so good, but it's not bad. I know that's true, but
I don't
you
play
need
video
to-
games
you
very
need to try it.
often. I mean, maybe.
It's just the game is such a night and day difference from what it started with. At some point, I want you to play it so you can at least see what you were hyped for in the beginning. Because you were, I remember when you were hyped. You were so hyped.
Yeah, don't remind me.
And then, but you could have it. It's there. The thing that you wanted is right
Yeah,
in front
but
of your
you know
face.
what
You just have to reach out.
Yeah, but you know when I wanted that, Brian?
I know,
When
5
was
years
like-
ago. Yes.
When I was like
understand
17
this.
years old, and now I'm 24
All
and
right.
just don't give a shit. That's the problem.
He missed his age demographic. Like,
Well, it's just like, at the time I wanted that, and now I just would rather.
10 years from
Not.
now, you'll have a group of bitter mid 30-year-olds sitting there bitter about No Man's Sky.
I'm not
still.
bitter. I'm not bitter about it. It's just I understand that the game is a serious time investment to really kind of get into it, and I just don't. I'd prefer not to do that.
Yeah. All right.
Well, so I mean, good
Well,
for him.
we'll see. We'll keep watching it. Yeah, we'll keep watching it.
Good,
and
good.
Hey, at least they went through. How many games have we gotten that were just dumpster fires when they came out, and then they just dropped the game because they realized it wasn't worth the investment?
Yeah,
it wasn't worth pushing through. Thank you, Sean, for at least sitting this one through and making the game you promised. And it took you 5 years to do it, and at a lot of cost, I'm sure. But at least he did it. I wish more developers, because I've got a library full of crappy games that if they just came back and fixed them, would be some pretty cool games. I just wanted to point that out. I know we give them a lot of crap, but it's pretty cool that they have pushed it through, and whatever failings they did in the beginning. A lot of times it's how you finish that matters. And I appreciate that someone actually finished rather than just dumping the game and having it be a stain on their record.
I absolutely can give the devil his due. Obviously, the community as a whole, at least on Steam, thinks that it is a good playable game. So I'm good. I mean, nothing's worse than having a useless game in your Steam library. So that's good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's cool that, they became successful, and we'll see. Yeah. Good for them. So I think that's it. Anything else you wanted to discuss? I know we were getting a little out on here.
No, there was some other stuff, but we'll get into it on a later. We covered a whopping 4 topics on today's show. That might be a new record
I know.
for topics. So.
I even had more topics that I didn't put in the notes because I was just like, I just don't even want to continue adding to this. So I just stopped.
We'll get to some of that stuff next week for sure.
Yep. All right. Well, hey, if you want to find me at Brian Aldridge on Gab and Parler, of course, you can go check out my blog, biteoftech.com. If you go to our website, go to infectionpodcast.com on the right-hand side, join our Discord server. And if you go there, you can submit, there's a news channel. And we actually have a channel where if you're a sub, maybe we should open it up for everybody, I think actually now, where it shows you a lot of the updates and things that happen on games that we follow. And also there's just channels that you can chat, talk about health stuff and politics, all kinds of things in there. If you want to watch the show, you can watch that through YouTube, BitChute, D Live, and Mixer. Not Mixer. What's the last one?
D
Twitch.
Live. Yeah.
I said D Live. I skipped
I'm
Twitch,
sorry.
the one that we're live on right at this moment. and if those are all live and after the fact, and if you do that, usually you can catch it live. I don't know if they all are going live every time. We also have audio forms, the lower right hand side. So whatever platform device you want to use, you can use that to connect and listen to us. If you're listening, just jump to the show notes for that particular episode and click and follow along with the links. It's really easy if you want to download the episode and listen, and it's going to be in a web browser while you click around and view the articles, maybe while you're driving. Well, not while you're driving, but someone's driving you, and or in a car, on the subway, wherever. Yeah, don't do that. But it works out pretty well for that. If you want to support us, you can do that by going to the support tab up top. There's infectionpodcast.com/support, or Prime Gaming, Amazon, Boo, Humble Bundle. You got a lot of different ways. Subscribe Star, and if you want to do that, just click on that tab, type the address, and that will all go towards our next convention, which we're anticipating, hopefully soon.
Yeah, well, I don't even know if we'll be allowed to go to those with our crazy radical viewpoints. I do want to thank our friend Big Woody Sauce, Ross, the Sauce Boss, for hitting us up with a 33-month. He said hi in his message here on Twitch. Hi, Ross. Thanks for joining us this evening. Appreciate it. And Ross is Ross is an OG. We got a lot of OG. About the only thing
I
that
know.
is around at this point is OGs. So yeah. Brian, you are the Oest of Gs. I remember a Skype conversation back many, many years ago that has led to
I know.
this illustrious program. So
I know. Isn't it ridiculous? I got a green
Yes.
screen in my bedroom now and all this equipment. Oh, well,
yeah,
here we are.
I am excited to.
And now you're a radio host. Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah, that is
Started
that
with Google Hangouts.
That in itself is absolute. And the fact that anybody is paying me to do that is almost unbelievable. Some days I'm expecting one morning to wake up to an email. Don't come in and be like, well, it was fun while it lasted.
We've had enough. Okay, we've got our fun. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, that seems to be going really well. I'm looking forward to Brian. We'll see you here in about 7 or 8 days, depending on how the timing all works out. So very much looking forward to that. Haven't seen my good friend
Very
Brian
good.
and Sean in a couple of years. So meeting some new friends, Tag Durante, Jonesy, your beautiful wife. So very much looking forward to meeting everybody and seeing everybody in the next.
It will be a
weeks.
hoot.
Yeah. I'm gonna go and get a liver transplant. I'm going to go and get a liver transplant tomorrow. All right, Brian, thank you as always. We'll catch up with you next Tuesday.
See you later. Bye.
All righty, folks. Well, thanks for joining us. An interesting episode of Infection. And again, you can visit our website, infectionpodcast.com. If you like what you heard, at least on the political side, I'd recommend you check out my Wilmington's Morning News podcast. Each and every weekday morning, you can grab it on all your favorite podcast apps. If you missed any portion of this program, you can go to our website, infectionpodcast.com. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.